Welcome to another edition of Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237 Teamsters. With us again, and this time he is elected as the Assemblyman, Gregory B. O'Pharrow. Welcome back to Reaching Out.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you to your team and thank you to Teams of Local 237 for this honor. I truly appreciate it.
Gregory B. O'Pharrow is a Democratic member of the New York State Assembly representing the 11th Assembly District in Suffolk County, Long Island. He took office January 1st, 2025. He was born in Brooklyn. He is a Navy veteran and a retired detective, 25-year veteran of the NYPD. He is also a youth boxing coach and community mentor. Glad to have you back. With so many things that is in your bio, we have some questions that we like to ask you. We'd like to know a lot more about you. So you've completed your first term as an assemblyman. Looking back on what you've accomplished, what are you most proud of?
What I'm most proud of, well, giving back to the people, representing the people. But legislatively, I'm very, very proud about our universal meals program, free breakfast and lunch, which serves about almost 3 million children throughout the state. Very, very proud of that. $340 million that we fought for, and we got that in 2025 budget. So we're very, very excited about that. And I'm very, very proud about that. I'm also very proud of some of the other legislative priorities and things that we were able to include in the budget, which is bell to bell. And that bell to bell is not allowing the kids to use their phone during school time, only during emergencies, obviously. But also, the great thing about that is it gives more time for our teachers and our instructors to really educate our young people without any distractions. I mean, those are a few things. And on top of that, I think it's important to notice the Joseph P. Dwyer program. I'm a veteran, and we were able to allocate an additional $8 million for their peer-to-peer program. So that's something near and dear to me. And also trying to, tackle this affordability issue and giving some of the residents of the state the inflation rebate checks that can help out and, stretch the dollar a little bit. So those are just a few things to name, but there are quite a few more things that we can definitely discuss and talk about later in the interview.
Now, two things you mentioned. One, the food program for the children. Who qualifies and where is it distributed?
Well, that thing is, it's a program that you have to have an income. There is an income determination, which people can apply for. I think, if not mistaken, that goes through the state. Not sure which part of the state, but everyone is welcome to apply. Well, for the program, it's free, regardless of income. I'm sorry. Let me get that straight. That's free regardless of income. So there is no income restrictions. I was thinking about something else in the back of my head.
Right.
Yes.
So where would someone go to apply for the program?
But it's free. It's automatic. It's free.
Oh, no.
So all students get it.
Oh, all the students get it. So
all the students get it. Yeah.
In schools.
Yes, in the schools, correct.
Great.
Yes.
And then you mentioned, I would say, was it an income check that you mentioned?
Inflation rebate check. Yes. Check. That's automatic.
And that's automatic. It's automatic.
That's automatic, and that's based on salary. So two people won't get the same check. So it depends on your income, your salary, and what you did, what you report on your taxes.
Okay.
So that's automatic.
So it's based on your taxes. Okay, it's automatic.
Yeah, based on your income.
Income. Okay.
Right.
When you file your taxes.
When you file, correct.
Okay. Very good. Did you fulfill the promises you made when you first took office?
Well, here's the thing about, about promises. I don't make promises, and I've always learned that promises are made to be broken. What I do say is that I tell people in my district that I'm going to work very hard for them, and if I don't, I want you to hold me accountable. I think when we use the word promises, it's used very, very loosely. And what I've done is made some significant strides, particularly when it comes to education. This year alone, in this past budget, I was able to bring home almost $500 million in foundation aid. And in some districts, that's an increase of over 2%, which is fantastic. And I will always fight for education and also higher education. I happen to sit on the higher education committee, and we did some fantastic things. We brought billions of dollars to support SUNY and CUNY. I think a total of 22 $22 billion and change to SUNY and CUNY institutions. And also pushing along and fighting for some of our programs, like our SEEP programs and our ELP programs, to make sure that underserved communities and disadvantaged students are able to progress and fulfill their dream of graduating from college. So these things are very, very important. And I will continue to fight for education. And as we talk about education, let's talk about Wyandanch School District, which had a very poor graduation rate. And I fought to extend the fiscal monitor. Got allocated funding for that in 2025 and also 2026. But in addition to that, due that their graduation rates were very, very low, we were able to get an academic monitor as well. So that tells you right there that my dedication to educational system, but not just that, to our young people, and how that we have to leave a legacy. And then education is a very integral part of success.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So what legislation did you sponsor and help pass that has had an impact on your constituents?
That's a good one. So one I can think of, it definitely was very instrumental, and we fought very hard for this in 2025 and 2026, is the school security guard bill. Being that, as a Teamster, a former active Teamster member, because I'm always a Teamster member in my heart and mind, is that working in a Brentwood school district, how important it is for school safety officers to have relationships in the school districts. But not only that, but understand the dichotomy and the makeup of our young people. Our young people are educated differently, they think differently, and we need to have a relationship. But not everyone that has a security guard license should be in a school district. And I think that we need to focus on training individuals, men and women, who understand how fragile and how delicate a school environment is, and they should be prepared for any time they're in a school system. So that's something we fought very, very hard with. And then we had support from all school districts throughout the state, and they were very, very supportive and integral and important in getting that passed, which we were successful in both houses. Just waiting on the governor to sign off on that bill. And then there's also a good bill that my colleague Judy Griffith sponsored, and this was a Lieutenant Banish bill. And then what this is, it gives peer-to-peer programming and training for law enforcement throughout the state, so that anytime that law enforcement feel like they have difficulty and some issues and things they want to talk about, they can talk to their counterparts, those that are in law enforcement, to understand the challenges that they face. Not all police departments have that. NYPD has that PAPA program, but some of the smaller municipalities and police departments don't have that peer-to-peer programming. So we were very instrumental in passing that, getting that passed, and thank you for Judy for pushing that forward. And I also helped her out with making sure that the entire state understands how important this is in our law enforcement. So those are a few other bills that are very, very important to me that help push. There were some other bills I wish we could have got done, like the 15-foot bill, which protects all of our first responders in crises from public harassment and things of that nature that threaten their livelihood and their ability to complete and render assistance.
Meaning everyone has to stay at least 15 feet away from them.
Correct. They would have to stay at least 15 feet away once giving a directive from the first responder.
Sure, sure. Okay. So what have you done to bring the state resources and funding back to your District 11?
Well, I've done quite a few things. Again, when we talk about the $1.1 million that I was able to secure for Wyandanch Park, also the educational aspect is the extending the fiscal monitor for Wyandanch, and also bringing in an academic monitor to our district. And just recently, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, we had the Governor Hochul came out to my district, and we were able to give out $3 million to create in a downtown revitalized area of Wyandanch Village a green lawn and a green space. So these are some of the resources that I were able to bring back to my district. On top of that is increasing foundation aid for our school districts. Also, when it came to the budget, SUNY and CUNY colleges, I have Farmingdale State University in my district, and just making sure that we're able to freeze, and we were able to do that successfully, is freeze tuition rates for young people. that have difficulty paying their tuition. So these are some of the many things that I've been able to do in a short period of time while I've been in office, is bring those resources back, and whatever resources we can bring back. And that's that includes discretionary funding. We've given out, since I've been in office, let's see, over $3 million. I think about almost $3 million of discretionary funding directly. And this money goes directly to our communities that need it and deserve it. And these are going out to our organizations that do the work that many of us in elected office cannot do.
You've been listening to Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President, Local 237 Teamsters. With us, a very special guest, Assemblyman Gregory B. O'Pharrow. During this first term, were there any surprises, things you really didn't expect?
Yes, the budget being late. I've always been raised that I try to get somewhere at least 15, 30 minutes prior to, and my grandparents always instilled in me to never be late, to always be on time. And if you are on time, you are late. So with that being said, I'm not used to things being late. I always try to prepare for things, and the budget is different. Again, I am not a politician in a sense, although many may call me that. I like to prefer to be called a friend of government, FIG, and just doing the work of the people. So that was, to me, that experience was definitely a learning lesson for me. Learn what to do and what not to do, and how to do things to get things pushed forward, how to get legislation moved, how to get funding for my district, how to fight for organizations, how to fight for my seniors and my veterans. So that's probably the most difficult and confusing part of being an elected official, is navigating the entire budget process. But we were successful, and again, fought for things that we deserved in my district, and we got it done.
Very
So I
good.
think that was the most surprising part. Everything else, it's to what's to be expected, right? We still have to work. We still have to work those long nights and days, and sometimes we have to get out of our bed very early or late at night to tend to constituent issues. But that was probably by far the most unexpected.
Okay. How have you worked across the party lines to get things done?
Well, it's very simple, Floyd. Whether you're Republican, you're a Democrat, I think many of us have the same principles and ideals. And I reach across quite often to the other side of the aisle and ask for their support on bills, particularly bills that affect Long Island. And I've done it on many occasions. And if you look at the 15-foot bill, for example, I've got a lot of support from law enforcement, a lot of support from first responders, and a lot of support from Republicans. Why? Because it makes sense. And it's the same thing with the Edison Joshua Sine bill, a young man that was killed on Christmas Day last year, filling in for a coworker, killed at work at CVS. This is a bill where we put together saying that, you know what, anytime there is a violent crime on the premise of a commercial establishment, that law enforcement should be able to receive and get the video footage immediately. In this particular case, it took well over 16, 18 hours for law enforcement to actually get the video. Now, many may say, well, why is that important? It's important because we have to think about the prosecutional process and how law enforcement obtains video. Make sure we check it in its entirety, make sure that it is the actual video that took place and no one tampered with it, so that we can justify and pass it over to the DA's office for successful prosecution. In this particular case, that did not happen. And time is of the essence, because this individual that committed this heinous crime of a young man working just to put some money in his pocket legally, that this person could have been halfway on a boat to China.
Right.
So, and I got a lot of support from Republican colleagues as well as Democrats alike. And I will continue to work across the aisle, because it means that much to me to have a unified front, people that support legislation that makes sense. And that's all the people want.
No, you brought back memories, sad memories of that Christmas Day and that horrific crime and that young man working in the CVS store. No one should go to work and get killed. Christmas Day, I mean, that will live in his family's memory forever.
And I took it upon myself and I reach out to the family quite often to let them know that I will forever carry Joshy's memory in my heart and mind, as long as I'm alive, and especially as long as I'm an elected official, I will do so. And as a matter of fact, I was able to honor him on the floor of the state assembly and talked about how great this young man was and how promising of a life and career he had for him.
One of our sad, 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 horrific stories. Um, how have you supported public safety and education as an assemblyman?
Well, public safety, I've did 25 years in NYPD, and that's a no-brainer for me. And for example, in 2025 budget, we were able to pass and push and legislate and lobby on behalf of the detectives, the sergeants, and the lieutenants association so that they can get increased parity pay for their longevity. So those that had 25, 30, and 35 years, they saw an increase from 5, 10, 15% in their pension. And why do we do that? It's important. If you look at the numbers in NYPD, it's dwindling drastically. There are hemorrhaging from people leaving, retiring, or going to other municipalities. So try to keep pace with that. We have to kind of sweeten the pot a little bit. We have to think about NYPD they do everything, like everything from social services to referrals to whether making arrests to investigations, domestic violence. They run the entire gambit. And these are some of the best and brightest young women to ever wear the shield and the uniform. And we should always uh, be there to support our law enforcement in that endeavor. So when it comes to public safety, I supported that. And then again, I talk about the Lieutenant Banish bill that Judy Griffith, my colleague in the Assembly, pushed for peer-to-peer support. We passed legislation for that. And education, that's one and the same. I could talk about SUNY and CUNY all day, the investments that we made in the last 2 years, billions of dollars. And also, making sure that we extend programs that help young people that have difficulty to get into college, whether it's financially or whether it's academically. So I think those two kind of go together, and we will continue, and I will continue to fight and fight for funding for education and
Excellent.
public safety as well, amongst other things,
Excellent. Two important subjects.
for sure.
Uh, Now, that would bring me to ask you, what would you like to accomplish in your second term? Are there any specific things or anything that you want to work on, reach across the aisle, get support, anything?
I think again, it's the will of the people, and I take my job very seriously, and it all depends on what the people want and what they need. Again, I'm their voice, and I'm here to be the voice for the voiceless, those that can speak, those that don't want to speak. So it all depends on what their concern is. I've always stood on a platform that focused on public safety, education, veterans, and the environment, right, and affordability. And right now, that's probably our biggest topic is tackling affordability, and it's whatever my constituents need assistance with. And I will continue to fight for them. But it's going to be the same thing that we fought for, because we have to do this every year. We have to fight for, increased funding for CUNY and SUNY, increase funding for K through 12, right? We have to make sure we continue to fund this universal meals program that I think, the Governor Kathy Hochul really pushing forward and allowing us to, make this a priority. And it's just getting the services directly, to my constituents.
Now, when you want to fight for things, it's very difficult when we have a war going on
Mm-hmm.
with Iran, when we have tariffs,
Mm-hmm.
fights, and there's just a lot of waste in our government now. I mean, waste by the billions, billions by the day, and something's got to give. Just read a report that we lost 22,000 jobs this month. 22,000 jobs. So that makes your job, my job, more difficult. And I don't think people are paying attention to really what's going on. But the job loss and the war is really draining our economy, whether they think they're paying for it or not, they're really paying for it. High
You
prices
know,
of food, high
oh,
prices for gas.
no, no, absolutely. I look at how much I spend on gas on a weekly basis, and it has increased significantly. And when we talk about, the war, first and foremost, I want to thank all of our veterans for serving and those that are currently serving right now. And I will continue to keep them in our prayers and make sure they get back home safely. War is not a happy thing. is it really drains an economy. And when there is no support for a war, as you can look at the numbers and people's bank accounts and how they're being affected, tariff, and knowing that tariffs typically don't work, and not in this economy. Um, we talk about in affordability. These tariffs are increasing prices on things such as milk, bread, and people live on a shoestring budget as it is. How are they going to afford things? And I'm gonna be honest with you, the state can only do it so much,
Yes.
particularly when the federal government is cutting Medicaid, Medicare. I mean, how are we supposed to survive? How are we as a state supposed to be, successful and thrive and continue to fund a lot of these programs for our residents that really need it when you have other things going on a federal level? And this is when I call upon all our constituents to write letters, speak to their congressmen, and advocate because we're doing our job on the state level. We're doing what we can and what we can control. We can't control everything, and I know it's tough. And to be honest with you, I wish I had the answers, but I can't comment on things that I can't control. That's not in my purview. All I can do is continue to find resources and get the money and where it's needed, and it's directly in my communities. And sometimes, there's going to come a time that where some of these services are going to have to be cut. But I will, try my best to think outside the box to figure out how we can continue with these services. We may have to, do something different. And being different doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. So, I'm looking forward to this next session, work with my colleagues in government and figure out how can we best serve the people.
Well, I don't think you have to have the answer. I just think we, and I say we, have to let the people know the why. Why is the gas prices so high? Why is the food so
Sure.
high? Among that, we didn't even mention the tax cuts to the wealthy because that
That too.
really impacts on the average citizen. So what they thought they voted for, they didn't. Lower prices didn't happen. The prices only rose.
And not only that, here's the great thing: what we did in New York State, we lowered the income tax rate as lowest it's been in 70 years. So we're trying to do, cost cutting measures so that we can lessen the blow. But nevertheless, it's still a blow.
Still a blow. Yes, it is. Uh,
Yeah.
I wish we had better news to speak about at this time. Maybe the upcoming elections will bring us a different outcome, but change takes time. I mean, you're not elected on the
Yeah.
first day and there's a change on the next day.
Mhm.
Change takes time. So,
Not for sure. You're absolutely right.
Assemblyman Kwani B. O'Pharrow, I want to thank you for coming back to Reaching Out. I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you for your service, all that you've done. And anytime you have something to say, you're welcome to come back. Thank you for coming back to Reaching Out.
But you're very, very welcome. Take care. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for listening to Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237 Teamsters. With us, our very special guest was Kwani B. O'Pharrow, Assemblyman, Suffolk County.